Hi, spots and cheap pops, ladies and gentlemen. This is Silicon Steve Valley, and I'm joined by Vladi and Valli, the reigning Purple Nurple champion, and it's WrestleMania season, and it's also AEW. Vladi Dottie, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty damn good, all things considered. We got some hot opinions here going on.
Well, we're going to, out of the gate, white hot. We're going to talk about AEW, and we can start with the very beginning, the four pillars, three of which crashing the rebar mitzvah of the current AEW world champion, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And Mr. Friedman was interrupted by first Jungle Boy, then Sammy Guevara, and then Darby Allin. And then this was a great segment. All four were able to cut promo. I thought all four promos were excellent. I really did. I thought all four did their job, even though Darby Allin sounded like he was getting choked up. I mean, he was out of breath. And it was so bad, Vladi. Darby Allin was saying, did a clip of him doing that and just took... I should not talk about Darby Allin, clearly, because my light just flickered when I was talking shit on him. I'm stopping that. That's annoying. Sorry. Anyway, I was getting long-winded anyway, to be honest with you. So I thought it was a great segment, though, in terms of just MJF did what he does best. And all three guys really hung their own with MJF. Your reaction to the four pillars?
Well, first off, let me say I thought that the actual bar mitzvah was an experience in itself. MJF is just pushing envelopes now. Like he was saying a few lines there where I don't really remember anybody else in wrestling doing it that way. Very unique, and he's just making people feel uncomfortable now, and he's a king at it, by the way. And I've been very critical of AEW, of course. True and true, right? But this, with the three guys coming out after the bar mitzvah itself, I got to say, I'm like, there's an aspect of this that I liked. It was a situation where we had three other opponents, and now we can sort of like weigh the crowd reaction against MJF and sort of get a vibe on who might be like, good to push against them here. And I got to say, yeah, you mentioned everybody held their own. I got my personal favorite out of all of them was actually Sammy. I thought Sammy Guevara did a great job in the promo. But then what was weird to me was that he had the crowd, and then he went and cut them in half. Called them, I believe he called them dumbass Canadians at one point.
Yes.
And then turned heel on them. And I was like, wow. I'm like, it just seemed like the crowd was just about ready to go for him. Like, Sammy doesn't need Jericho.
Never did.
Right.
Well, maybe not never. That was did, but
yeah, this was an indicator. It's like, man, I'm like the crowd, even though like all the negative that has been attached to Sammy, like backstage stuff, whatever, hey, you can't deny his talent. And if he keeps his nose clean, he could have a great career. He truly reminds me of Eddie Guerrero. Like more than anybody else. It's a total compliment. So I was kind of hoping for that. And then all of a sudden he cut him in half. And it's like, that's who I was hoping for. But overall, great segment. And, I've been critical. I was like cool with this opening. It was something new. You had the actual four pillars there. Let's see what happens. I really love the vibe to it.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a tremendous segment. But going back to some of the controversial things MJF is saying, what was one of the things that took you off guard that was like, wow?
I didn't actually write them down. I just remember and I just said to myself, I'm like, I don't remember anybody saying the joke like that or just, on the religious tones that were going on there. Yeah. I don't know if you have any quotes or whatever, but it's just.
He put over Jewish people. That's for sure.
No, they were totally over that. But it was just him doing what he does best. And I tell you what, and again, we already did an apology video. The last 6 or 7 weeks, MJF has been absolutely brilliant. And he's back. Yes.
I mean, brilliant. Not just good, brilliant. He's been in the ring a couple times, both brilliant. And every time he's on the mic, he's still brilliant, and he's pushing these envelopes, but he's saying things that are fantastic. And it was interesting between Sammy and MJF. They both kind of made fun of each other for their ex-fiancés, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yes.
But Darby Allin also cut into the core. Jungle Boy, I almost called him JB. Jungle Boy actually cut a really good promo. He's been impressive lately, too. So this is a good showcase. After you have the nice run with Bryan Danielson, the veteran, you get all three of these guys in a main event scene. And again, MJF is elevating all three of them to a certain extent. So, hey, the four pillars at work. Obviously, MJF is going to walk out of this, whoever he faces, if it's maybe possibly all four of them, or all three of them, rather. He's going to walk out world champion. He's not losing this title to one of them. That's for darn sure. But I loved it too. And AEW hasn't really been that. To me, I think they have really leveled the ship, and they haven't had a lot of bad shows. I think 2023 has been better than pretty much all of the second half of 2022. I think we can all agree on that. Maybe even the 9 months of 2022. So they're going, I think, in the right direction. And one thing that might help them in the right direction as we veer off of Dynamite real quick, Dax Harwood announced on Twitter today, Vladi Dottie, that he and Cash have made their decision, and they will let everybody know in April what they have decided to do. Vladi Dottie, I believe Dax Harwood has worked us on his podcast. He worked me. He worked you. He worked all of us. They were going to WWE. His dream matches were the Usos, Edge, Gunther. They were gone. And then all of a sudden, they show back up on TV. Now Dax Harwood can't say enough nice things about Tony Khan and AEW. And today, they say they made their decision. They couldn't get any offers from any other professional wrestling company that is large scale. They couldn't legally get offers. They couldn't make a decision until they get an offer. Folks, he basically just let the cat out of the bag. FTR is staying in All Elite Wrestling. And folks, maybe they can salvage the thing that you and me were freaking out about. They could salvage the FTR Young Bucks rivalry and do it right. And I think that is probably part of the equation here. Maybe we are going to get that elite verse, CM Punk and FTR, like we really have been hoping. And maybe Kenny Omega is working us too. Maybe AEW is in much better shape than we were giving him credit for. Your reaction to Dax Harwood's tweet?
I think in a perfect world, and if you're a betting man, I would say he's returning to AEW. Like it's almost an obvious, like especially considering the work-life balance. He could probably get more money this time. I'm sure of it, because they would be definitely hot property going back to WWE. But in terms of their decision, I would totally think that they're going back to AEW. However, there's always that little glimmer of hope or a little bit of a sliver, a chance. Maybe they have the inside scoop. You never know. What it really hinges on is the whole Vince sale of WWE. If they knew something 100% and it's going to stay in certain hands, et cetera, maybe only then they would consider going back. But otherwise, I would think it's definitely going to be AEW. And if they do, this would be the best thing for Tony Khan. Because if they do return and the Bucks and Kenny decide to remain and CM Punk returns, it sets the table for the hottest wrestling angle in the last, I don't know how many years. It built itself right there.
Well, at least at AEW, because WWE's got something going on, which we're going to get into later in the show. But yeah, it was for guys like us. We were really worried Because Tony Khan did botch so many things in 2022. We know that. And anyone that says differently, you're not paying attention, or you're one of the AEW homers that doesn't want to admit anything wrong with the company. So maybe there's ways to right the ship now that everyone's coming back and physically, mentally, and emotionally healed. Maybe 2023 is going to be a great year for AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Thank you so much for listening and watching High Spots and Cheap Pops. Hit the subscribe button, then please comment, share. Let's build this community, and thank you for getting us over 100 subscribers.